Hi, good evening. Good evening. How are you, everybody? I hope you had a great week. For me, it has been an amazing time. I must say, once we start, we never stop. But one thing that stood out for me this week is knowing that I'm going to have this session. I've been looking forward to have it ever since we've started. We are on episode 4 today, and I have the most amazing lady with me whom I had a privilege of working with in the past projects that we have been embarking on. It has been such a journey, a beautiful journey indeed. And I must say, Debbie is her name, and surname is Tem. And ever since I've known her, I always wanted the world to hear her voice. There is so much to learn, there is so much we can gain from her, and there's so much of wisdom that we are going to get from her as well. So, allow me to briefly give you a brief introduction of who Debbie is. Debbie is a highly experienced executive coach, leadership coach, and facilitator, holding a professional certified coach, which is PCC level. She will explain that to us. Credential from the International Coaching Federation, ICF, with over 25 years of experience. She has been working in the various positions such as financial manager, chief operational officer, and non-executive director of listed entities. And since 2016, she has been coaching, consulting, and facilitating leaders in environments requiring high performance and resilience. This is a long introduction. However, I don't want to take a lot away from it because we have Debbie here who is going to introduce herself. So, Debbie, thank you so much for honoring us with your time. We appreciate you being here. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm so happy and so pleased to be here with you, Puseletso. It's just an absolute honor to be in your presence. I just absolutely love your energy, and yeah, so it's lovely to be in the space with you this evening. Thank
Oh,
you.
lovely. So now I've introduced you from a professional perspective. So, but who is Debbie? How do you normally want people to know you?
Oh, how do people want to know me? I think really one that listens, one that fosters. Uh, just your own potential. For me, it's about, I guess there's another side to me. And the other side to me is I like yoga, I like meditation. I can never say I'm a master at these things. I think we're all students in our lifetime, but that's one side of me. I've got 2 adult kids, and I've got two dogs that live with us. So
Nice.
yes, yeah.
Wow, Debbie, I didn't know that about you. See, I didn't know you love yoga and meditation. That's nice to hear and to know. So, Debbie, you've been in the coaching space for quite some time. It's been years that you've been working with executives, with professionals. Is that the space that you are specializing in terms of your profession?
There are really 2 areas that I've specialized in, and they've been in the sort of learning space, where I facilitate learning on an international program or programs. And then the other side of it, and also and facilitations, and then the other side of it is around the coaching, leadership coaching. And I think that comes from the broad experience of being in corporate, and really understanding it in depth. To and this being like my next career.
Nice. And is it a calling or is it still something that you are doing outside of you being having worked so long in the corporate space? Do you find that it's a calling or it's a purpose driven?
I think it's a calling, but I want to say calling and purpose is very sort of integrated.
Yeah.
because calling is just, when you're in flow, when you're just doing the work, because no matter what, every time you try and steer your way somewhere else, it just calls you back. So as much as I want to say, it's partly a career, it really is a calling, and it's very purpose driven. So I see the two as not separate but very integrated.
That's definitely true. Before I even go to questions that I have prepared for you this evening, I've got lots of questions prepared for you. I hope you're ready. I've got
Yes, I am.
what kind of
Let's see
questions
what
can I
you've got
ask?
there. Put me on the
I
spot.
had to really prepare for your coaching for this moment because I'm like, there's a lot to ask, but let me have a bit of a structure. So I will go through the questions. But before I go there, because we are talking about driving employee engagement and how coaching drives employee engagement. But before I go there, I just want to ask you one last question. I heard you said you've got children and you're also married, Debbie. How do you manage not to be a coach when it's not you needed to be a mother and not to be a coach when you need to be a wife?
From our coaching practices and our education that you don't coach your family members. And I guess it goes back, like a psychologist won't be doing sort of the psychology. They've got to do it very subtly with their family members. So I
Mm.
think coaching, we know our boundaries, we know who we're going to work with, and yeah, so our families aren't necessarily the first point of call.
No, that's true. But I sometimes catch myself becoming a coach. I must be honest with you.
Oh, so I think the family quickly pick it up. So I don't
Oh,
even go there.
I found my daughter saying to their friend when they were here, they said, "Oh, remember my mom is a coach. Those questions are going somewhere." I'm like, okay. Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Oh man. So I just want to ask you related to our topic today, which is employee engaging, how coaching drives employee engagement. The first question that I have, which I will also ask all our guests to also prepare questions based on some of the things that Debbie will share with us and how she will answer some of the questions I prepared for her. You might be having something that you want to ask. It could be something related to you personally in terms of how you want to navigate certain things, or it could be something that you've always wanted to know, especially when it comes to the engagement with your with your clients, or with your workplace. So, Debbie, my first question would be, how can coaching strategies be leveraged to enhance employee engagement within organizations?
Thanks. It's really a great question, Pusiletso. So I think I'd like to start firstly with what is employee engagement. And when we define employee engagement, we look at um, people doing meaningful work. They feel that they're learning and they're developing at work, they're growing. They feel
Mhm.
they acknowledge and there's some sort of reward. They get feedback. They trust their leadership, and they really do belong. So it boils down to, I love my work, I love my organization, I'm inspired by what I do, and I connect to my purpose.
Mhm.
And so I think when we look at employee engagement and we look at the statistics out there, and I think Gallup over the years, it hovers around 20% that people are highly engaged.
Yeah.
So in other words, if we really look at our salary bill, majority of what we're paying in salary bills is 80% of people come to work just to do enough to keep their jobs, and some of
Mhm.
them are ready to walk out. So it
Mhm.
really does show us that we've got some work to do in terms of leadership, in terms of workplaces, and hence that's where we bring coaching in as a strategy, because coaching really creates that environment where people are able to unpack some of those elements at a very personalized level, number one, individual,
Yeah.
and then as a team, as a business unit, as an organization. And because I do quite a bit of work from a neuroscience perspective, we
Mm-hmm.
know that our brains are wired firstly for survival.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then and if we can get people out of that survival state and really into that performance state, we know that peak performance is where people really drip the best chemicals in their body,
Mm-hmm.
which makes them want to do things and be motivated. And that's where peak performance comes in, and employee engagement is really at its height. So
Mm-hmm.
coaching fosters that environment where people can have these developmental conversations, whether it be their individual development plans, feedback, their strengths, discussions, where they're going, goal setting. So there's just so much that
Mm-hmm.
coaching can do in enhancing people's need to belong to an organization.
Hmm. That's well put. That's so beautifully put, and especially when you say it also start with an individual. The one question that I'm also asking myself is that how does then coaching foster that sense of ownership from the person who's receiving the coaching? How can they it foster the sense of ownership and commitment amongst them as employees?
So, ownership and commitment is really about people making those connection points.
Mm.
When their purpose and the purpose of the organization, they can see some connection points.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people start to take ownership. And it's through that self discovery process that they go through that creates the environment for them to explore it. And I use a small case study that I was involved in, where we took about 35 participants through a coaching journey, and the questions that we did ask them was, why do you come to work? Why do you love to come to
Yeah.
work? And there were
Uh-huh.
three things that really stood out for them. And the first spin is, I come to work because I'm learning, growing, and I can apply what I'm learning and growing in my job. Then the
Mm-hmm.
second one was around this whole family thing, is that when I come to work, because I spend so many hours at work, this is my other family. And
Yes.
then the
Belonging.
last thing was around salary and reward, was the fact that I get money. It's never enough, but I do get money and I do get rewarded on my performance. And that contributes to my own purpose at home, which
Mhm.
is whether it be raising a family, providing for everyone, it was all different. And when we took them through connecting that to the organization's collaboration, the team, what teams could achieve, and
Mhm.
we connected it to how that profitability of the organization could benefit through that, as well as
Mhm.
the purpose. That
Yeah.
connection inspired their their want to take ownership of their journey and their growth.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. When did this study happen, Debbie? Is it
It
something
was
that has
quite a while back. It was
oh
quite a while back. It was probably around 2013. Yeah, around 2013 when I did that one.
and did you publish it or it was for your
No,
own gain? Ah,
it was for my own. Yes, yes. It was
lovely.
within an organization, and that was when I started in. That was part of during my journey as an internal coach.
Mm. I know that you deal with a lot of corporate work, but you also get to see individuals, right? There are individuals that come
Yes.
to you and say, "Can we be coached or by you?" Do you take individuals at all?
I do take individuals, and it's not, the percentage is lower in terms of individuals, but I do take individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Individuals who are committed to their growth, I
Yeah.
most certainly take them through a journey of this whole self-discovery, and it's the empowering journey I take them through.
It's interesting that you say individuals that are committed to their journey. How can one tell that an individual is committed? How do you define a committed person to their own journey and non-committed person?
So committed is normally, so the fact that somebody comes to me in their private capacity already
Mhm.
shows some sort of commitment,
Yeah.
because they are paying the money themselves, versus in a corporate environment where a corporate is giving it to them.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that corporates aren't, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying corporate people aren't committed either. But what I'm saying is that that's one sense of commitment. But the other commitment is the hard work, because coaching, when we go into a coaching journey, and I say we because I've been a coachee in my
Yeah.
lifetime before, a few times, um, it means that we want to change. It means that we have this desire to see
Yeah.
things different and do things different. So we're really working at that thinking, feeling, and action piece. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. So coaching isn't a magic wand that the coach is
No,
going to do everything.
definitely.
The client has to do the work. So that's why, yes, I have phrased it that way.
No, I appreciate that because I've experienced it as well in my practice that there are people who are having money to pay you, who would take their hard-earned money to pay you, but they show not commitment in their own journey.
Mm,
And it's not
mm,
our responsibility and journey to be chasing after people to have their sessions done.
no.
The commitment one is not the one who will wait and follow up and say, when are we having the next session? Is the one who will say, I'm ready for the next session, or can we already talk about the next session? And to me, that's a sign of a commitment, someone, if I have to
Mm,
add to what you were saying as well. And another
yeah.
commitment thing is, we know in our coaching, we do give tasks, right? There are certain
Yes.
things that you realize that I'm going to give you something to go and reflect on, something to go and do, and then you have to come in, we can unpack it. Then you get people who just goes and they never come back.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
experienced
And
that.
yeah, and the big thing is that work that you do before your session and the preparation you come in with. And
Yes.
if you come in prepared, you really get more than what you thought you were going to get out of a session. And it's not because the coach is doing the work, it's because you're doing the work and you've done some preparation for the session.
Most
So that's the way
definitely.
I see it.
And also, the more people who are prepared for their coaching, the more they bring the best
Mm,
out of the coaches to give and
mm,
to also
mm,
support their journey. So it's the activation thing that takes place in that space as
mm,
well.
mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
wanted I just want you to give us an example of maybe those scenarios where you had someone whom you were coaching, where it was a successful coaching intervention, where you realized that they were most lagging at work or they were despondent, they were not so engaged, but then
Mm,
coaching supported them in that journey where they
mm,
started becoming more engaged. Do you have an example of something like that, or
mm.
someone you can give
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, so I have a lovely example where so often I work with clients who are already, so we run a program in conjunction with the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, when I got this coaching client, the person was like ready to, can you help me work my exit strategy? I'm ready to leave.
Leave, yeah.
And as we started going through the sessions and this person started to unpack, they realized that, but there's just so much more that I have to offer this organization. And this person during this process got a promotion because they found their voice to start verbalizing back to the right people to say, hey, hang on, if you don't start considering me, you start looking at me, I am going to start looking.
Yeah.
And so that's what coaching does. And so what this person further did was they started to really champion the things that were in alignment with what I call their heart, in alignment with, besides their technical work that they were employed to do, but also to take on the pet projects that were ones that uplift communities and champion and sponsor some of those. And what that person also saw was that they had this ability now to create a culture around them that was one that fitted their style, because
Wow.
that's what leaders need to start doing when they get these roles, is that they need to start fostering their own leadership style, which will be and may be different to what the current organization has. And
Mm.
that's how we start creating workplaces of the future that are more future fit for people. So
Mm.
that was one of the stories that I have.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I think I like the fact that you're saying you're creating the story of future workplaces, even the future
Mm.
workplaces where that person will work, because now they've understood how to create a space and environment that suit them better.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, because
That's
sometimes people keep quiet. They
they
think,
do.
well, that's the system, and I've just got to obey the system.
Yeah.
And there are ways, I mean, you don't have to, be totally disruptive, but there are ways, because if you are really that, if you have that, as if you're that asset to the organization, they know your value. But
Mm.
sometimes we keep quiet, we stay small, and we
Mm.
need to stand up for ourselves.
Debbie, before I even ask you a question, there's a Buitumelo who is on Instagram who's asking a question. I'm gonna show the question now. Your
Okay.
conversation has actually sparked something in my head because I was seated with one of the coachee. She's an executive. She's actually a director at their organization, and she's at a point where she's very much disengaged, based on the fact that she doesn't think she has been heard, that she is overworked, and she has taken about three job titles because of capacity issue, and
Mm,
she is realizing that all this is starting to even have an impact on her own health, and that is actually affecting so many other things, even the love of what she is doing. For
mm,
somebody of that who is experiencing similar thing where the company is under resourced, under capacity, and
mm.
not supportive, what would you say in the coaching space for them?
What would I?
How would you approach that matter with her in the coaching space?
Okay. Yeah. So, we always, by the time we are in these situations and we hold in three positions, I always use the analogy of the golden handcuffs, because that's really what's keeping us there.
Mm,
Is that we're not sure, what are our opportunities. So as a coach, we need to really understand what is important to the person right now, because if they're in that stage of life where their kids are still at school, for example, they've got lots of those commitments, etc. Sometimes you can't make rash decisions. So it's
yes,
really about working through almost like a process to say, okay, right now, what can I do to be more resourceful? If I'm holding three positions, how do I get resourceful? How
yeah,
do I help myself be physically strong? So that's
yeah,
the piece where the neuroscience comes in, around getting the right rest. So sleep is not just sleep, making
mm-hmm,
sure we get good quality sleep, 7
Mm-hmm.
to 9 hours of sleep, because if you don't have a good rested brain, you
Mm-hmm.
begin to
You burn
struggle to
out.
focus. So there's a lot of ripple effects. And when we talk about health issues, mental health, we are seeing a lot of burnout, we're seeing a lot of mental issues. And organizations are underestimating how much of that is it's actually costing them.
Yeah.
So we really need to sit with a person, and we look at all avenues. We look at all areas of their life. So I'm one that doesn't only look at, okay, it's corporate and it sits in one
Yeah.
box, but I look
Yeah.
at the person holistically, at a
Mm,
physical, emotional, as well as spiritual, if they have any practices, so that we can start finding practices that will get them resourceful. And
mm,
then we start mapping out what how they're going to move forward.
mm. That's nice. That's beautiful. I hope she is here listening. She's normally present in these sessions. She will
Lovely.
know herself. So there is a question that is coming from Bitumelo from the Instagram. She says, "Hi, Coach Buse. How did Debbie become a leader and an executive coach, and how did she break into the corporate space?"
So when you start moving towards your second career, I want to say to you, in a way, it was a little bit accidental, but in a
Mhm,
way, a little bit strategic. So the first thing was that I was been coached as an executive. And initially I thought, I don't know where to go. And that the coaching bought me another 10 years in corporate. So it really got me, it was actually more than 10 years, maybe another 15 years in corporate. It pushed me to start exploring and be more curious about my career and what skills I needed to learn.
mhm,
And so I got exposed to coaching there. And then I decided, but hang on, coaching was so powerful for me that I can do it as a leader.
mhm.
And that was when I started to use the coaching methodologies, and I integrated it into my own practices as a leader. Then I started to use it where we had opportunities in the organization, and sometimes or at least the economies go through downtimes where we don't have a lot of funds available or budgets available to invest in people, but we still want to develop them.
Yeah.
So I spend quite a lot of time as a side role doing that beyond my normal job,
Mhm.
internally coaching. So I started building that career
Mm,
9 years
mm,
before
wow.
I
Mm,
transitioned, because I see it too often. People say, okay, I want to become a coach. They go and do a course and then they stop and they think, okay, all the business is going to come to them. And
mhm.
unfortunately, it's going to take years of work, and it may be quicker than 9 years. But what I'm saying to you is that you have to be intentional, but it also has to feel right. So that's the accidental part. The
Mm,
accidental part, because if you look at my career, is that I was in finance. So that was not necessarily my focus. Everything was logical and everything was a number, etc. And here I was not realizing that, hey, hang on, that was one paradigm, but now here was a new one where I was starting to find myself. I was starting to find my voice. And when I did this work, I was in flow. And that comes back to right at the beginning where Pusiletso asked me whether it's a calling or if it's purpose. And that was a golden thread throughout, even when I was in junior positions. It was
mm,
about me empowering other people, me transferring knowledge. I didn't have all the coaching skills then, but as I started then learning the coaching skills, I needed to start practicing that. So that's how I got there.
ah, that's a beautiful journey. It really you articulated it so beautifully. And her follow up question as well is, and does Debbie have a preference area in coaching, and what influenced her preference?
Do I have a preference? So I probably have a preference for people who are working in a corporate environment.
Mhm.
And I guess the reason, Ben, is because it resonates, or I can resonate with some of the experiences, although the client may not, it won't be the exact experiences, but I guess that is my preference. It's people who are working, who are holding all these roles, who just have so much, and there's just so much stress going on. I think that's the space that we need, or coaching brings. And that's a space I like to be working with people in.
Nice. Nice. Today, Instagram is on fire.
Is
Most
it
of
on
the day,
fire?
I'm telling you, there are lots of questions that are coming from the viewers from there. Most of the days we find that Facebook is on fire, but today Instagram is definitely on fire. There is another question that comes from Eve. Eva, she's saying, how does an employee open up to their manager about their mental status?
So I think the big thing with a mental status is, first of all, at least a relationship, is trust. So do you have that trust relationship with that manager, that they can hold you safely? Will that manager know what to do with you when you disclose your mental status? So I think when you're asking the question, how does an employee open? I think it really does depend on the situation. And that
Yeah.
is why, and I think you also need to know why you want to tell the person this, because, sometimes we don't tell the person that, but sometimes we need to tell them because it's impacting the way we work in. So
Yeah.
it does touch the lines of HR, and that's why, depending on the type of organization, how big the organization is, you have to figure out whether you're going to work with HR. Sometimes we need to work with our ICAS. It really does depend on the situation.
Mm. No, it does. Thank you so much for answering that. I think Judith is it's actually in awe of your journey in how you became, you decided to become a coach. So she's actually saying that's a very interesting journey that you have traveled. So going
Thank
back to
you.
my questions, and thank you guys, keep the questions coming. I am going to probably just introduce two more questions, but we will rely more of your questions because this is your time. We are doing this
Mm,
for you. I mean, some of the people sometimes don't have an opportunity to meet with the calibers of Debbie's, and sometimes it's a budget issue, or sometimes it's accessibility. So she's here today. I would really ask you to ask questions that you want to know. It's not only going to be around engagement and how you can engage at work if you're feeling a bit like your time is up, you need an exit strategy. But let's talk about anything that could support you in your journey at workplace, but also in your own holistic journey, where maybe Debbie can assist. So the next question, Debbie, the last one I asked you was the example that you could give.
mm.
Remember, I just maybe the next question that I need to you is what specific, which is question number 5, what specific coaching techniques do you recommend in addressing disengagement, and how more, and also to build the morale of the people? Are there coaching
Mm.
strategies that you can recommend?
Yeah. So to me, there's a process rather. And the first part of the process is us having data. So
Mm-hmm.
organizations either run employee engagement surveys, climate surveys. So whatever data an organization already has, that's what we use. And we take from that, what do we want to work on? So
Mm,
data for me is very important.
data.
Then the next step is to take the team or the business units. We've got to start hearing the voices. So we use
Yeah.
team coaching as a methodology that we can unpack what is going on with everyone and how, like, what is the current state and how we're going to move forward. And then
Mm-hmm.
the third layer to that is the individual coaching. And that's where we take the person in their role and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, so what role do you play in engagement? And because we are all so different, that's where it is a very, very sort of unique process. So I can tell you this from all the people that I've coached,
Mm-hmm.
not a single, and it's hundreds of people, not a single person that I've coached has been the same. I can't
Yeah.
say that the answers were the same, and I can't say my questions were the same. It's all different.
It's all different. And what inspires that? What
Yeah.
do you think actually make it different, and different approaches for everybody?
So it comes back to there's it's actually a lot. Okay.
Mm,
So first of all, from a psychological perspective, when we're a little kid, we're already exposed to lots of different things, and it wires our brain in a certain way. So
mm,
we want the sense of belonging, we want to be validated, we want to feel loved, all of those things. So our brains start developing at a very young age at a psychological level. The other thing that also happens is there's so many other layers. We have different heritages, we have different cultures, we have different ethnicities, religions, and so that list goes on. So it keeps wiring our brain. So depending, by the time a coach works with a client, we are dealing with people who have all these unique traits.
mm,
Plus, they are in different stages of their lives. If you think about when you were in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and retiring, etc., it's very different. So the coach has to work with the person where they are,
mm.
and they have to partner with them, and they have to co-create this journey.
Yeah, yeah. Partnering and co-creating. I think you have answered so many questions that I had, because as you were speaking, I'm like, oh, you're answering this question now. You're answering this question now. What am
I
I going to
am.
ask you? Because you were talking about creating that personalized approach, which I think you have beautifully said. Everybody is unique, and the way you would
Mm,
approach is determined by who they are and how they see things as
mm,
well. And the one question that also came, which I think I'm going to ask you, which actually is on my list, it was supposed to be question 9. It talks about resistance and skepticism, because I know very well that coaching is still not well understood.
mm,
Most people still don't see the value of, why should I be getting a coach? Why should I be coached? I don't think it is well understood. How do
mm,
we make people adapt into understanding the power of coaching, and how they can better use it for their advantage or for their benefit in terms of coping with
mm,
work?
yeah. So there's a lady by the name of Caroline Mice, and she wrote a book called Sacred Contracts. And she talks about wisdom or woe. Okay.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
wisdom is where we do things proactively. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Because we get the knowledge out there and we educate ourselves, and then we take the necessary steps to grow.
mm-hmm.
Woe is when we do nothing, we stick our heads in the sand, or we just stay in our comfort zone, and then something happens to us and the rug gets pulled from under our feet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when that rug gets pulled from under our feet, that's when we realize, oh, hang on, maybe I need a coach. Okay. Now that process takes longer,
Yes,
but sometimes we're not ready for it.
yeah,
So I think that's where the hard part of coaching comes in, is that what we know is that top CEOs of Fortune 500 companies have coaches.
they do.
Okay. We know that those people are successful because they have coaches and they
Yeah,
want to be coached.
yeah.
So Coaching resistance comes in where we are scared of change. Okay, we're scared of having to do something different. And most times it's because there's a system around us that's playing out.
Yeah.
And that's where a good coach will sit with you and help you trust the process.
Yeah.
And they don't judge you for not
Mm.
taking the step, because for some people, there are real challenges out there.
Yeah,
And
true.
all of us, if we really wanted to be one of those top CEOs, we could be. But there
Mm.
are certain things within our system that is
Mm.
holding us back. Some
Mm.
of them are just mental things, which we can work with. We can change our outlook. Some of them are behavioral ones, which we
Mm.
really do need to reflect. So a coach will hold you quite safely,
Mm.
and it's almost like holding your hand and take you one step at a time so that you don't have to be fearful of the process.
Mm. Oh, that closes our session there, right there, because I think you have actually touched on the thing that actually makes good coaches more valuable. Because I like the word good coach, because we are also acknowledging that not everybody is a good coach, right? And not everybody can identify the need to unleash potential in others or to help them transition or cross over, especially when they feel they're a bit stuck. But a good coach is able to see that, and is able to even identify fear in one and understand where the fear is stemming from without judging, without having biases.
Mm,
So the way you
mm,
have put it is quite beautiful, and I think that's why sometimes people are not really very skeptical about coaching, because they fear being judged, they fear being not understood, or not even to be given the love. Because as you were
mm,
saying it, and you even
mm,
put your hands here, it's for me, it's that warmth and the love that you are
mm,
showing to the other person, to say, I see you, I hear
mm.
you, you matter. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
beautiful. That was
yeah.
beautiful.
Wow.
Ah,
Mm.
that time flew. Hey, I told you that 45 minutes is too quick.
Far too quick, but it's been absolutely lovely. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And I think, this is just when I'm in my zone, when we can have discussions like this, and it's so empowering. And I know you are also such a great coach. So that's why, I thought I have to take on this opportunity with you,
Oh no, thank
really.
you. It has been
Yeah.
phenomenal, and how much I really value your work. And every time I'm looking out for business, I'm like, we need to get more business out there in the corporates. Where's Debbie? Let's go. So I
Yes.
really value the work that you do. You are amazing, Debbie, and you have created such an impact to many lives that we have been trusted with. And I know that the world hasn't seen even how much you have in you, because sometimes we still have a lot to give. They just taste the tip of an iceberg. So,
Mm.
in closing, I
Thank
just
you.
want to talk to the listeners who are watching this moment, or who are still to watch this, come across this video. As we are talking about employee engagement and how coaching can assist them, what would be your parting words to them?
Um, my parting words, I think, to the listeners would be that you've really got to learn how to reflect. And if you learn how to reflect, and I know we so busy rushing from one place to the next, but reflection is really the key to your growth. And I recently came across a lovely book by Michelle Lucas called I've got it on my desk here, Creating the Reflective Habit. I don't know if this will be in reverse. Oh, there you
Yeah,
are.
I see it. Yeah.
Creating the reflective habit. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not only for coaches and mentors, but it's also for leaders. And it's
Mm-hmm.
got such phenomenal creative ways that you can go and reflect. So it's not only journaling, because a lot of people think, okay, to reflect is just me to write a journal. And I come across so many people who can't write journals. They can't write
Yeah,
every day. So
yeah.
here's a lovely resource. So that's what I can leave you with today.
Oh, wow. Will you share that picture and with us so that I can share in our community? And any
I'll
other
do that.
recommendations in terms of tools, in terms of books that you would also, you spoke about other books as well. If you can,
Oh,
please
there's so
send
many
them to
books.
me via WhatsApp, and then I'll share it
I
with
will.
my community as well. I just want to say, really, it's a pleasure to be working with the caliber like yourself, Debbie. And also, when you work with people whom you also get to learn a lot from, you must know that you are blessed. So I just want to say, as Mind Retirement, we are privileged to really collaborate with you and to work with various everybody who has been on this platform has been amazing. I'm still to interview a lot of others. Some of them are our colleagues that we have worked with closely, and I really look forward to many other engagements of this kind. They are heartwarming, they are exciting. We get
Mm,
excited about it because we love doing what we do. And I hope
mm,
that those who are listening also took something out of today's session. I just want to say at Mind Retirement Institute, we believe in the power of coaching. And we also all about making sure that we impact lives positively. And also with the transformational coaching that we offer, it's not
mm,
just about numbers. It's not about how many people we can take through our coaching program. What gives us joy is the ability to impact lives and to see tangible
mm,
results, to see them transition from a point of not knowing to knowing, from I can't to I can, the confidence. And it's something that we wake up wanting to see, because we know that all of us are powerful, and we know no one is coming through our doors unless if it's a divine intervention. There's a reason
mm,
why God make us connect and meet, and also make you entrust us with your journey. We don't take it lightly. We appreciate everybody coming through our doors, and we want to make sure that whatever they intend to achieve through that journey, as we walk that journey with them, we realize it as much as they
mm.
want to realize it. So that's what we are and what we do on a daily. So, Debbie, thank you so, so much. And I will come back again. I'm sure we will do round two of this interview. How about that?
Absolutely. This work just speaks to our hearts, and I could see your heart, really just been so open right now. So I know your heart and my heart are speaking here. This is just music. So lovely. Thank you so much.
Music.
Thank you,
This is
Pusiletso,
music.
and to everyone who's attended tonight. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And have a
Yes.
great evening. Good night.